Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of A Dash of D. To get in the spirit of Halloween, I'd like to share with you how to make these adorable Halloween Oreo cake pops. What fun way to share these little treats at your next Halloween party or to share with family and friends. So without further ado, let's get started. For the batter, I'm combining about 25 Oreos with 6 ounces of cream cheese. Here I'm starting off by grinding up my Oreos using a food processor in a pulsing motion. And if you don't have a food processor, just simply put the Oreos in a Ziploc bag and crush the Oreos using a rolling pin. That'll work just as well. Grind the Oreos until you get a fine, sandy consistency because the smaller the pieces, the smoother your cake pops will turn out. Next, mix in your cream cheese. Your dough should eventually pull away from the sides of the container. If you find your dough is too dry, go ahead and add a little more cream cheese at a time. Next, line a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Then we begin rolling about 1 tablespoon of dough between our hands. It should be about the size of a golf ball. So growing up, I really never enjoyed Halloween because I didn't like seeing scary things or going through haunted houses. I mean, I still don't like those things, but I've learned to enjoy Halloween through seeing the creative costumes out there. I really love seeing what other people create. My favorite Halloween is when me and my husband dressed up as the characters from Up. I was Russell and he was Mr. Fredricksen. Here we are at Mickey's Halloween party at Disneyland. We actually put together our costume with the material that we already had from home, with the exception of the balloons. We had so much fun being those characters and we got so many compliments on our costumes. So let me know in the comments below what's your favorite thing about Halloween, and if you're dressing up, what are you going to be this year? For this first row, I'm making Frankenstein's monster by shaping the dough into a cylinder or a soda can shape by rolling out the sides and using the baking sheet to press the top and the bottom of the dough flat. To get the edges more defined, I'm gently pinching the edges together to get it as sharp as possible, so when it's time to dip the dough into the candy melt, I won't end up losing the shape. And here's another example. So again, roll out the sides and flatten the top and the bottom with a baking sheet. Then pinch the edges off to get a more defined shape. The mummy will remain a golf ball shape, so I'm skipping a row there. And next, to create the jack-o'-lanterns, I'm simply flattening out the cake balls just a bit to get a hockey puck type shape. I mean, this is optional, you actually could leave it the way it is because pumpkins come in all shapes and sizes, but for me it's more fun to create the different types of shapes. And here's another example. So after shaping the cake pops, you want to freeze them for about 15 minutes to help set the shapes. After 15 minutes, go ahead and take your cake pops out of the freezer, and now we're ready to insert the sticks into the cake pops. I'm dipping about ½ an inch of the stick into the candy melt and then insert the stick into the dough. I also like to take my finger and clean up any excess of candy melts, then repeat for all cake pops. After you're done placing the sticks into the dough, you want to freeze them for another 15 minutes. So to create Frankenstein's monster, I have here some green candy melts that's already been melted using the microwave. You could find colored candy melts at most craft stores, and I actually got mine from Michael's. I added a few pieces of Easy Thins to make the melts more thin and pliable. If you don't have Easy Thins, you could also use vegetable oil. For his hair, I'm actually using some black sugar sprinkles, which I also found at Michael's. So begin by dipping your cake pop into the candy melt and gently tap off any excess. While the candy melt is still wet, go ahead and dip the bottom portion of the cake pop into the black sugar. Next, I'm adding on his eyes. These are candied eyes, which I also found from Michael's. Then I'm setting the cake pop into a styrofoam block to let it set before painting on his mouth and ear bulbs. So here's another example. After the candy melt has set, we're going to draw on his lips and ear bulbs by using the tip of a stick or a toothpick and dipping it into the brown candy melts. For his mouth, I drew a line across and then small vertical lines to create stitches. Then I dotted the sides of its head to create ear bulbs. And here's another example. So moving on to create the jack-o'-lanterns, I have here some orange candy melts that I already mixed in with some easy melts. Just like Frankenstein's monster, I start by dipping the cake pop into the candy melt and tap off any excess. Before the candy melt sets, I'm using a green mini M&M to represent the stem. After putting on your stem, go ahead and let it set for a few minutes before drawing the face of the jack-o'-lantern. After the candy has set, let's draw on the face. Now you can get creative and draw whatever face you'd like, but for me, I'm simply drawing on a smiley face. And here's another example. Last, we'll be decorating our mummy. I'm dipping the cake pop into the white candy melts with some easy thins already added. Again, tap off any excess. The white coating may look thin at this time, but don't worry because we'll be adding in stripes later to mummify him. Before the candy coating dries, I'm putting on his eyes and then letting it set for a few minutes before we put on the stripes. And now it's time to mummify. I'm doing this by drawing on random stripes throughout the mummy using the same white candy melts. Repeat this process for the other mummies. And again, here's another example. Now if you had some extra yarn or ribbon, you could also tie a piece to the mummy's cake pop stick for a little more decoration. And we are done. These cake pops are so adorable and fun to make, and they make the perfect treat to give away at your next Halloween party. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know which characters you enjoyed making the most. Have a safe and happy Halloween, and see you next time on A Dash of D. Bye!